for the internet breakup and stuff. Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please? Roll
Yes.
call.
Yes. Jeff West,
Here.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Here.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Here. Just because it's easier for one person to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting?
So move.
I'll second. Lisa, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, I
For
can.
approval of the minutes?
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes, yep. Communications, board and committee appointments, local health officer, Jeff Rainey. Mike, could you say something about that?
Yeah, so we're required to have a health officer. I have been the health officer, however, my term expired. And since I intend to retire soon, Jeff was willing to fill that role.
Yep, that's really good. And I think, Mike, you're trying to shed some of your other responsibilities as we go on into the replacement process. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yep, that'll be great. Reports of committees and commissions, town manager's report.
Great. May I make a suggestion? Does Jeff really need a motion?
I think he does, actually. Yep, thanks, Jerry.
Yeah.
Lisa?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve Jeff Rennie?
So move.
Yes.
Okay. And for roll call, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Patricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Reports of committees and commissions, town manager's report, Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'll comment on, since everything in my report is going to be discussed at some point during the meeting, I'll just let the viewers know that anyone that wishes to comment on anything discussed at tonight's meeting can send an email to Town of Winslow, all one word, at winslow-me.gov. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks. And what we were going to do tonight, Lisa had asked me to do, is a financial committee report. I think everybody has it or has it in their package. Lisa, could you do a roll call vote on the financial committee people
Yeah, just
for approval of the report?
For the warrants, can I have an approval from Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Tricia Ayer,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. And during this department reports, what I've kind of asked Mike is to give the department heads a little heads up if they would want to give a little 30-second little update as to how things are going during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'd like to give the opportunity first, if we went in, I picked some type of order, not by importance, that's for sure. But Chief Leary, the police, would you like to give a little update, please?
Sure, thank you. Along with other law enforcement agencies, our operation tempo has been a little reduced. We're still hearing calls for service. What we are doing differently is if we have to respond to a residence, we're having people come out and talk to us. So we're maintaining the 6-foot distance. Our calls for service in 3 particular areas have increased. One are domestic violence calls or family disputes family dispute calls, but that is very common throughout the state and I believe throughout the nation. The other high volume calls are mental health calls. And the other thing is we're seeing a uptake in commercial burglaries throughout the area because a lot of businesses are closed. So what we've done to combat that is to increase our patrols around the commercial establishments, doing building checks, etc. The staff's morale is high, though we're all struggling with what everybody else is dealing with.
Great. Thank you very much, Chief. Chief Rodriguez, Fire.
Hey, I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. The fire department spirits are up. We're doing well, despite the fact that 2 of our members were kind of quarantined for a little bit based on symptoms that they were exhibiting. They've been tested. Everybody's negative, and keeping it at 30 seconds. We just completed the captain's process, and we've hired a captain away from the Bangor Fire Department. He's got 25 years experience, and 22 years of that has been a paramedic. So we're pretty excited to have Scott Bolduc joining our department. Thank you.
And I think I represent the whole council and the whole town and all the employees, really, when I say that people that are on the front line, all the departments are on the front line. And, you know, we can't say enough about the job that everybody's trying to do during this very, very difficult times. And please pass it on to all the crews and all the department heads too, that we appreciate what you're doing. Adam, do you have anything in codes that you like to say?
Things are going pretty well considering. We're still bringing in permits, maybe half a dozen a week or so. Doing as much electronically as we can. You know, people have been really good as far as, you know, working with me to get the inspections done and stuff like that. But really looking forward to things getting back to normal. But they're overall going pretty well. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Adam. Judy in assessing?
Hi there, everybody. Pretty much I've been home most of the time, except for a couple of mornings I've gone in really early, basically because my husband is a lot older and has had complications. So I've really kept my touchy-feely to a minimum. But working from home has actually been pretty productive. I've kept up with all of the voicemails and emails as far as the public's needs and demands, so that part's worked. What I will be faced with when I am in the office is data input, because this is the time of year for inspections to be processed and personal property and equipment and the whole appraisal software program. That's the one thing I don't have at home, but it's fine if I go in early enough and it's quiet and I'm by myself, I can pretty much bang it out quickly. The deeds will have to be updated, and that's something I can do in the office. So I think I'm going to step it up a little bit and start going in 2 or 3 mornings a week early and get the work done and then get home. But other than that, conventions have been canceled, obviously. So that's freed up probably 2 or 3 weeks of my time. So it's going as well as it can be. We're just doing it the best that we can. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Judy. Lisa, could you comment on the front office and how things are going in there as far as registrations and traffic, or how we're handling the public?
Yep. We are having the office staffed on Tuesdays and Fridays, and we're rotating one of the clerks in the office at a time. And it's allowing them to get emails done, check their voicemails, process any payments that come in through the mail. I want to emphasize how wonderful the residents have been about this. They have been very understanding and realizing that we're kind of dealing with, you know, a whole new situation that nobody's been through before. So they've been wonderful. Paul and Mike had a drop box installed at the front door for residents to drop off payments and correspondence. That's being used a lot. And the only other thing is the state has made a lot of emergency decisions as far as allowing people to register their motor vehicles at a later date and boats. And so the governor's order has been a huge help to us trying to get things done and allowing the residents to kind of, remain calm as we're progressing through this. They don't have that worry, which is wonderful. So, and the only other thing is the election has been moved from June 9th to July 14th. And I'm expecting a huge increase in absentee ballots. So that is going to be very heavily advertised. I've already started it today. And it's going to be a good thing to try to promote that as much as possible for the safety of our residents, as well as those that will be working at the polls. So I'm waiting to hear from the state for their guidelines at this point. I should be hearing from them this week. And also too, that will also include, it'll be the state primary, there'll be a state referendum, and it will also have the Winslow school budget referendum. I hope that was 30 seconds.
Great, thank you very much. Amanda, Park and Rec?
Yes, currently we have all of the playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball courts, and baseball and softball fields closed. And our Fort Halifax and trails are open. Just trying to weigh the safety and need to be outside in green space. And that's the recommendation from the main parks and recreation folks. Right now, I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens after April 30th to see when those might open back up again. I'm anticipating May will probably be closed as well. Right now, I've delayed the start of our usual Parks and Rec crew until late as possible. It's just Dean and myself. Dean got all the equipment ready. We've been doing the trash removal and doing the things we can do. Mother Nature's been funny, so we've had snow one day, and so we're not quite at the cutting stage anyways. As I do bring crews on, I'm planning on doing a split shift, so the only one person's in each vehicle. Just trying to get all my policies in place to keep the employees safe. I have spoken to all the seasonal employees that I had hired, and they're all set and ready to go and come in, and they feel comfortable doing so. The rec center is currently still closed. I go in to the office a few days a week, and then I work from home, but I'm still processing emails and voicemails. Normally registration for our summer activities start in May. Because I'm anticipating not being able to do those in person, I'm starting an online registration option. We're going full steam ahead that we're going to be able to have summer programming, knowing that we may have to delay the start time. If we are not able to have, for instance, summer fun camp, I already have another virtual option. I've been meeting twice a week with directors from all over the state about virtual rec options, couch to 5K, ways of connecting our residents without, connecting them completely, but just keeping people active and busy and finding safe ways to do that. And I think that's about it from myself.
Great, thank you very much, Amanda. And you're still planning on running everything at the junior high school?
Yes, that is the plan, of course. And I've spoken to Peter about this. Obviously, if the CDC doesn't want us doing anything like that, we won't. But as long as everything's open, we plan it being at the junior high.
Okay, great. I know there's been a lot of people that have asked me about the summer program, obviously, with childcare and everything. The whole system is really kind of in flux right now, and I'm sure hopefully that we'll have some guidance within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, for everybody. Library, thanks, Amanda, very much. Library, Lisa? I'm not sure Lisa's here. Mike, is Lisa on?
I don't see her on the list.
Okay, that's fine. Yep. Okay, we'll pass table business right now. We'll start with old business. Is anybody?
Right.
Yes.
How about Public Works?
Oh, yeah, I am very sorry. I skipped that one for some reason. No reason, just my fault. Paul, Public Works? Thanks, Jerry.
Good evening, guys. What we've
Thought
done,
you were going to get out of it, huh?
I thought so. I was hoping, but
No chance.
What we've done right now is we've split our crew in two, 1 week on, 1 week off. I come in 1 week with half the crew and Gene comes in the other week with the other half. We spent last week pretty much picking up trees from the last snowstorm. We still have a day or so to do that. Then we're going to hit the street sweeping. I'm hoping next week to get everybody in. I think we have enough work to keep everybody busy and everybody separated. So that's my plan right now, is we'll start doing more sweeping and fixing lawns and pothole patching and that type of work. So I'm hoping we can get everybody in and be productive, because right now with half a crew, it's not very productive, but it's safe. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul.
Hey, Ray, before you move on, a few words from the school department.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure, Peter. Feel free. Yep.
You know, everybody has mentioned the difficulties that everybody is facing, and those difficulties are held true for the school staff as well, caused by this epidemic. Yet we have 42 people who are made up of kitchen staff, teachers, custodians, administrators, nurses, ed techs, bus drivers, counselors, and a host of others that I will forget. They prepare and distribute 3,000 meals 3 times a week. Over 9,000 meals are distributed over the course of the week to our students. In addition to feeding students, our teachers are busy retooling. And when I say retooling, as they deliver their instruction through remote and distance learning. Information on the specifics of our plan can be found on the district website. If anybody's interested in that, information on what is happening in specific schools can be found on the school websites as well. It goes without saying that I'm extremely proud of our staff for the incredible work that they're doing in order to provide meals to our students and also to fulfill our mission, which is to educate our students when they aren't in our school buildings. I have to say that I'm also very proud of the Winslow community for the way in which parents and other community members have offered to support, and they have acknowledged with sincere thanks the efforts made by the schools. Joseph's Clothing, Winslow VIP, the Winslow McDonald's, incredible people, have all stepped up to the plate to offer support. Many community members have also offered their support as well in the form of donations or by volunteering to help. It's truly refreshing to see so many people understand that strong schools make for a strong community. And I can't tell you how proud I am and how honored I am to be a part of all of this through this difficult crisis.
Peter, could you also, I think that's just great work, and I'm sure the people are doing, just a little update on the school construction, if you could?
Yeah, the school construction is moving ahead as planned. To date, we have not experienced any issues as a result of all of this, because we had a lot of the major components either ordered or on site before this all hit. There is concern, obviously, that if a crew member becomes ill, that it will slow operations down. We're all hoping that that doesn't happen. But so far, we continue to move forward as planned. And you can go to the school website as well, the district website, and you'll see photos of the progress that's being made. We try to update that every few weeks, every time that we meet as a construction committee. So you can go to that site and see the updates that have occurred.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. And I think I echo the whole council as to, we see in the community what the teachers and what you are doing, and it's just uniting the whole community to see the buses in service and to see the needs and the good work that everybody's doing. And from the council, I'm sure that if you could express our gratitude for that, I would really appreciate it.
Absolutely, I will do.
Ray, could I ask Peter one question?
Sure.
Peter, are you planning on having a time when people can go in and get their personal belongings that were left behind?
Yes, we are, Jeff. Those are some of the discussions that we're in the process of having in terms of how best to do that. And we wanted to wait a little bit longer for if there's if a remote chance of kids being able to come back to school. As you know, right now we are closed. I shouldn't use the word closed. We are operating, delivering instruction remotely, with the understanding that if there's any chance that the CDC says we can return to school, hopefully. But at some point, we will have a schedule so that students can come and get their things, kind of a curbside delivery, so that everybody can get what they need to get, and also an opportunity for students to return some of the things that they may have with them. We've delivered a lot of laptops. There's a lot of books that are going out. And so we will make those arrangements, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple people actually ask me that, so something I never thought of.
Peter, what about graduation? Obviously, right now, that's up in the air as far as the ceremony and everything, right? I mean,
everything is up in the air, and I can tell you that you've got a high school principal who's hanging on with all hopes that something will happen. Something will happen. We just don't know what that's going to look like. But those conversations are being discussed in terms of what some alternatives might be.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. Does anybody have any questions for Peter at this time? Okay, we'll proceed into the business. Let's start with ordinance number 1-220, providing for an amendment to Chapter 14, Article 6, General Performance Standards by adding 9 in the language to Section 14-62C. If we remember right, this is the sign ordinance that we were discussing prior to the COVID-19. Mike, you had some suggestions on this right now?
Yeah, so for now, I'd appreciate it. The council would table that. I need to talk with Lisa about advertising. We need to advertise for the next reading. So if you table it now, it will give us time to do that.
So moved for table.
Second. Lisa, could you have a roll call, please?
Yes. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Quirian,
Before I say yes or no, what are we voting on?
This is the sign ordinance. Remember that we were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we voting on the table?
We're voting to table it, yes.
Okay, that was not clear.
Yep.
So Jerry, are you a yes?
Yes, the table.
Thank you. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes. Moving on, order number 6-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase 2 used ambulances and associated equipment at a total cost of $204,000 and $204,400. Sorry about that.
Got a question on that, Ray. Got a question on that item.
Sure.
What is it listed under? Old business?
Old business,
It
yes.
should be under table business because it was tabled at our last meeting. It should not be under old business.
On the 9th, that's why, yes.
So that's why, Lisa?
Yeah, because we originally had it on the 9th meeting as a first reading,
Yes.
and it would have been the second, it would have been old business on this meeting, so that's
Yep.
correct.
Yep. Does that make a difference,
So-
Mike, as far as where we vote on it tonight or whether we discuss it tonight or not?
Yeah, so I think as long as you make a motion to put it on the floor for discussion, that would be the same thing as taking it off the
So
table.
moved. That would have to be, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Take it off the table.
Take it off the table. Let's have a motion to take it off the table. Just for, Lisa, could you just do a quick roll call vote, please?
Yes, who was the first and second on that?
I made the motion.
Thank
We haven't
you.
got a second.
Second.
You got a second.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Thank you. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Tricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
No.
and Ray Karen.
No.
Okay, so it is 5-2.
5-2, open up for discussion. I think we've discussed it. I know that on the webpage, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of feedback from the public. Does anybody want to have any comment or discussion on the
I'd like to
feedback
make an
that we
amendment,
got?
Ray. I'd like to make an amendment to that.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I would like to make an amendment that we purchase one ambulance with related equipment being stretcher, stair chair, not to exceed $85,000.
For a second.
On that motion, do we have to have a roll call vote immediately, or can we wait till after discussion? Or I believe it's open for discussion at this time, correct?
We have to vote on the amendment though, right?
Yes.
In order to discuss.
But you gotta either vote on the amendment or discuss it, then vote.
It's open for discussion right now, so let's
Yeah.
Jeff, what's your intent for the one ambulance situation?
I think it would ease a lot of people's concerns of spending less money now and moving forward with this project.
I would agree with Jeff. I think that it makes our startup costs about half, and it makes the time to recoup those costs much more reasonable, I think.
I agree.
On all of the stuff that I read, I didn't see any comments in there about going to one ambulance. It was either all or nothing, and most of it was nothing.
I also didn't see any name or addresses of any of the people that asked questions. I was curious as to who they were and what district they lived in, and that wasn't listed either.
Here's my concern about the one ambulance situation is, if the town of Winslow is going in the ambulance business, then we have to have, to me, the reliability that now Winslow personnel are going to be calling and going to be using that ambulance. We all know mechanically that we have issues with equipment. At that point in time, if a unit does become mechanically defective, to me, it would be critical to have a backup unit being able to be put in line at a speedy and not rely on a backup service at that point in time. That's just my thoughts. I was wondering if somebody would have comments on that.
Well, I'd like to comment on that for a second, if I could. I mean, we had this discussion at the last meeting, and Chief Rodriguez had I'd asked him a specific question if, say, Sugarloaf Ambulance would supply us with a backup to have if something were to occur. And I got a yay on that, not an A. So, Chief, would you like to chime in on that?
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to address that concern. And the ambulance dealer has provided assurances that if we were to have experience some sort of mechanical difficulty with our frontline unit, that they would provide us with a backup ready to go.
Not to mention,
How long would it take to get here if our one ambulance is down and we don't have backup from Delta?
Sorry, I was just making sure I was unmuted. As long as it takes to get from where the dealership is, which is Sugarloaf Rescue.
couldn't we also use Waterville and Clinton as backup? I mean, they have ambulances.
Well, we can use any number of services as a backup. I've maintained all along that I am hopeful that we can work out a mutual aid partnership with Delta Ambulance. So.
But we haven't
It's
yet,
not-
right?
Sir?
We have not yet, right?
I haven't been contacted by anybody from Delta. No, sir.
One of the things that I have for questions is how reliable are these used ambulances? The question that I have is how reliable are these used ambulances? Have they been certified by a mechanic that's licensed for inspection by the Maine State Police?
Yes, they have been.
They have been?
Yes, they have been.
Is there a sticker on them
Yes, there is.
by the Maine State Police?
By
Through the Maine State Police.
I don't know about Maine State Police has inspected them, but the, an authorized inspection service has inspected both these ambulances. Mr. Chairman, if I could, since we're on the discussion, I'd like to say a few words if I could, please.
Oh, for sure. Go ahead, Chief.
Chairman Karen and members of the Winslow Town Council, I would like to say a few words tonight about tonight's decision. The idea of providing a transport service is not a new one. It's being done successfully in Maine for over 65% of municipalities and the same nationwide. It may be new to Winslow, but it is not new. It is working in Maine and it is the national model. Over 65% of municipalities are a fire-based EMS service. This discussion has been going on for over 18 months. It began when discussions were had at the council concerning the aged fleet of the apparatus and the outdated station, a station which is not ADA compliant and is not EEO compliant. We currently have no facilities to house our women members. With each discussion, I have been transparent in answering questions, providing supporting data, and with documentation. There have been at least 4 public sessions, either in a workshop or part of the budget process. I've replied to emailed questions and those asked during live meetings. Not once has anyone opposed to this idea presented any data to substantiate their claim that it won't work here, nor have they supplied documentation of it failing elsewhere. The town of Albion has generated over $25,000 for 43 transports. Comparatively, the town of Winslow can surely see $175,000 revenue from 700 transports annually. This revenue can and should be used to offset the capital and operational costs of the Winslow Fire Department. In some forums and emails, the discussion has taken the unfortunate tone of negativity and has been used as an opportunity to launch unfair criticism and negative comments towards the members of this department. These very members have taken the initiative and dedicated personal time, sacrificed family time to improve the service they provide and upgrade their EMS license and ability to serve the citizens of Winslow. This is unfortunate. The members of the Winslow Fire Department take great pride in the services they provide. I want to express my gratitude to them for their professionalism throughout this process. To their credit, they have steadfastly remained professional in their conduct and behavior. Providing emergency medical service is nothing new to the Winslow Fire Department. We've been doing it for years. We already have the providers, the medications, the equipment, the training, certifications to perform our duties under our current license. The members of the department are already running the EMS calls. The only piece missing is maintaining patient care to the hospital and reimbursements for the services and supplies provided. Finally, the current system is not a free service. Patients are currently being billed. The revenue just doesn't come to the town and it doesn't offset the cost of emergency services.
Thank you very much, Chief. And now, any other further discussion on the amendment to purchase one? Chief, could I know you've already commented, but you don't see any problem with just having one ambulance at this time, with the backup ambulance from Sugarloaf being readily available right now but what happens if that situation doesn't work out? Is that going to be something that can't be there forever if they get another chance to get rid of that rig, right?
Well, I don't see having operating one ambulance as problematic at all, if that answers your question. We have one engine, and we operate fine with one engine. We can operate fine with one ambulance.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Anybody else has anything up there?
Whether we have one or two ambulances.
Hello?
Whether we have one or two ambulances, it doesn't matter. As long as that's inspected before we buy it. Not by somebody from another state, but by somebody from this state. The other thing is, I like to have the Sugarloaf or whatever the dealer is, have that put in our purchase agreement that they will provide a backup ambulance if something happens to ours. Because if something happens to ours, right, somebody else might be there and say, oh, no, it's not in writing. We never seen that. Then we're in trouble.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I share his concern, and this gentleman has been in business for a long time, and his word carries a lot of weight. And I understand the concerns, and if that's what it takes, I'll absolutely have it put in writing.
Okay.
I'll agree.
But we don't have, as of right now, any backup as far as people backing us up like Delta, Waterville, or anything. There are no agreements at this time, right?
No, that's not true. We have mutual aid agreements with Clinton, and we have a mutual aid agreement with Waterville right now, but it's on the agenda to authorize the updated version of it. But we do have mutual aid agreements right now. Absolutely.
Now, since we have the chief on, how many ambulances, including Winslow's, if we get one, are there within the greater Waterville area? Including Delta, Waterville, Clinton, Winslow.
That's an interesting question, and I don't know what the minimum staffing or minimum requirements that Delta provides for the town or the region. I know that Waterville has 2, and I know that Clinton has 2. I know Albion has 1.
I found out how many they have. They got 7, a total of about 13 ambulances. How many do we really need in this greater Waterville area? Are we overstaffing? And I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
Jerry, the only problem with that is you can have 13, you can have 20, you can have 50 ambulances. It's whether or not you staff them.
It's not only that. I remember somebody telling me that if we have a bus accident on the interstate, that we need that many. So we're staffing them at a level that we might have a bus accident every 20 or 30 years.
Well, Jerry, I keep coming back to the question, will the citizens be safer with an ambulance in our station? Will the response time be improved? And the answer to that question is pretty obvious.
Not necessarily, because the whole system is put together by we're going to be there first. And by the time we get those people stabilized, Delta's going to be there. You're talking about 3 or 4 minutes difference. Now, would we want Delta to be there at the same time we got? No, because they'd have to sit on their hands while we stabilize them.
I don't get that, but that's okay. I think we can vote on the amendment probably, unless anybody has anything else to say about it.
Well, one of the things that I have to say is I know that in those question and answers, those emails, I had, what I read, I had some people that were questioning what was going on. They felt like they were being kept out of it, and they wanted to have a public hearing, some of them. I'm not saying all of them.
Well, I think right now we're just voting on the amendment that Jeff put in place, is whether we feel we need instead of one ambulance, instead of two ambulances, do we need just one ambulance right now so that financially we wouldn't be such an indebted to it. So I think that's the amendment. And I think I hear what Jeff is saying. I think we can vote on if we're done discussing the amendment, then we're not voting for approval yet. We're just voting on the amendment at this point in time. Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa, could you roll call vote, please, on the amendment? And the amendment states that everything is the same in the amendment for purchasing of just one ambulance. And of course, that's going to, for Jeff, and it was for what money number?
The ambulance, stair chair, and cot, not to exceed $85,000.
Not to exceed $85,000.
Okay.
And we're just voting on that amendment from 2 to 1 ambulance at a total cost of $85,000. I think that is what it is, whether we feel we need 2 ambulances or whether we should keep it at the 2 ambulance level, or whether we can go down at the 1 ambulance level. That's what the amendment is. If we're ready now, Lisa, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yeah.
Trisha Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Quarian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
No.
And Ray Karen.
No, I still believe we need to. Okay. Moving on. Now that's over. We'll purchase 1 ambulance not to exceed $85,000. Now open up discussion on the order number 6220. Again, for the town manager, purchase 1 ambulance not to exceed a total cost of $85,000 with associated equipment. So that's back on the table.
I have no idea what else we would need to discuss. I have no idea what other questions anybody could have at this point. We've gone over it a million times. So I'm really curious as to what people's thoughts are. I'm really concerned that we're just going around in circles at this point.
Have you read the information that Mr. Hefner has sent out?
Yes, Ben, I have. Have you?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, I have.
Yeah.
And what are the percentages of the information that was asked was positive, which ones were, how many was negative?
I'm curious as to who actually asked the questions and what their address were and in what district they lived in. That's what I was curious about.
Ben, I can tell you that the people I've spoken to have been overwhelmingly in favor of this proposal. They're wondering why we're holding it up and what it's taken so long to do this. The costs are minimal. There's an income to it. The services will be improved, and the life-saving ability of our fire department and our emergency responders will be increased with this. And I went out of my way to try to get a hold of many people in the last 10 days, and I can tell you overwhelming, the majority was in favor.
Well, Steve, I have no complaints about the ambulance service. My only complaint was how the people are reacting to it by not having a public forum. And doing it like this, Mike did a good job putting this together so we could read it. Okay, 8 pages, right, Tish? So I have no problem with that. But people are still asking the questions. That's my only point on this.
I think from my perspective, there's a couple things that I wish weren't happening. Obviously, nobody wishes to conduct business is tough during this pandemic that we're in right now, and it's very difficult. People have other things that obviously are on their minds right now, whether it's a paycheck, whether it's jobs. And so I really have a hard time making these decisions during a time when we have this pandemic, where it limits the amount of, no matter what anybody says, and we've tried to do a great job, Trish has, for live streaming, for having it broadcasted on to, we actually, I think at this point in time, actually probably reach more people than we normally might have not reached during this time.
Famous at this point, Facebook Live than what we were doing before.
Yeah, and that's where I have a problem. I want the process to be vetted. I want to have the public input, which we've had. And I wish we weren't in this so that we could have a public hearing, say like at the high school auditorium, where we could give people a chance to come in and to discuss it when a time when we could really concentrate on this issue. And we are being as transparent as I've ever seen on any issue. It's just, are there everybody that, should we even be doing this during a pandemic when we don't know what the extent will be further on, is trying to make an ambulance change during that pandemic that we're looking at here. Given, all the things, should we remain with the current system that we have, and then after we get some future type of where we're going to be in the near future, and then make this change. This change would not be difficult because of all the work that the chief has done and everything like that. I just really reluctant during this period of time. And I want the process to go forward. I want to have more public input. I just really have a hard time doing it at this particular time in the process, although that's just my thoughts at this time. I think that in a month we will have, and the chief is moving forward, the town is moving forward. I think in a month we have a very clear idea of where we're going to be. And then I cannot see tabling this forever, obviously not. It's a difficult decision. But if I had it, I would, and even if we vote yes, I would hate to see it defeated because of these concerns that aren't related to, to the actual where we can do it or not. I would hate to see that happen because I think the process should go forward and should be vetted and needs to be investigated a little more sure to make sure we vet all the questions that we have. And those are just my thoughts, any other discussion on that?
Why is the big push to do it within 30 days? I mean, we pretty much all agree on the ambulance service thing, but what is the big push right at this exactly time when people can't get together?
It has nothing to do with people getting together or not. This has been in the process for 18 months, regardless of COVID-19. We've been working on this for 18 months.
I know you have.
Pages of questions have been answered. This is the, 5th meeting that we've talked about it. It's been online. It's been in every single area for people to ask questions on TV, on Facebook. I mean, I just think we really need to vote regardless of where we are with what's going on. I mean, this is maybe why we need an ambulance. We're going through a pandemic right now. Like, we're having issues. It's just.
But we're not having issues with our ambulance service right now, though. I've heard no complaints about our ambulance service.
All of the messages I'm getting on the live video are just telling us to vote and to stop stalling. So just letting you know.
Well, I agree with Ray.
And so do I.
Well, I guess I would take the opposite tack of what Ray just said. Precisely because we are in a pandemic is the reason to do this. And I would hate to see something tragic happen and our citizens not have an ambulance service available in a timely manner for a cost that is very minimal and perhaps even a plus side on the cost. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with you, Steve, except for the fact we do not have an agreement with Delta to back us up.
Like, Delta's going to say no. And you don't think Waterville is going to respond, or Clinton, or anything? You think that, honestly,
Right now, Waterville is not transporting. Delta is doing it.
$1 million business is not going to send aid to the people of Winslow. Is that what you're saying right now?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying unless we have an agreement, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, if we don't have an agreement, they don't have to come over and move our people if we don't have access.
Well, I think, actually, I think Delta's pretty good at what they do, and I think they'd be more than willing to work with us cooperatively. I don't see them turning their backs on the community, which they've been a part of for so long. And we do have mutual aid agreements with Waterville. Waterville is an authorized transport service, and so is Clinton, and so is Albion. So we do have mechanisms in place. And if I may, through the chair, the 30-day timeline is not a hurry up. It is that was a question brought to me, is how soon would it be, would we be able to put it in service? And once we advertise and go through the vetting process, 30 days. It cannot be put in service sooner. That's where the 30 days came in. But this has been on the table, and this was brought up by the council asking me to do this, to find ways to support the ever increasing cost of running a fire service. So I did this at the request of the council. So I yield back to the council. Thank you.
Well, one of the chief, correct me if I'm wrong, last I knew, we didn't have an agreement with Delta today.
That is correct. We have no contract, no agreement with Delta.
I just got a message from a Waterville firefighter that said that they will provide mutual aid to us.
Who is he, the chief?
No. If you want me to call him, I can.
No, let's keep it to the business that we have at hand right now. And I think that, we're discussing right now a little bit of the timetable and a little bit of, like, we all appreciate all the work that people have done. I think what a little bit is of the 18 months is a little misconception, is that the fact that the council just got this really a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago. So we've been digesting this. The committee's been working for a long time. They had, from my understanding, 3 meetings, and I attended a few of them, 3 meetings, and then they made their recommendation at a 4-2 that we were going to bring this forward. So, but the council has just looked at it. The public has gotten it for the last couple months. So it's just due diligence to vet with the public, to let them have input, and, to let them ask the questions, and then we answer the questions that we can. So it has been a long process. It is going, and it is going very well. And, but yet not everybody's looked at this for 18 months. That's true.
One of the things, Ray, is that I don't have a problem with the 18 months. I just have a problem that we're not going to have enough paramedics to man this until after December. And those people have to pass a test. We don't know how tough that test is going to be. And I don't know how often the state of Maine schedules that test to be taken.
Can I address that, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, for sure. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah. Well, we now have 1 paramedic on. Well, he starts to 28. I have received numerous inquiries from local paramedics that want to join our call force. That would supplement, as our call force does right now, everything we do. With regards to the test, it absolutely is a tough test, but you've got some pretty smart people that work for you, with the fire department, and we are able to take the test as soon as the class is over and everybody's passed the class. And right now we're at the end of coming up on the end of the first semester, and every one of your members of this department are passing. So my hat's off to them. And I understand your concerns about paramedics, but we are running the calls right now as it is. And we are licensed to be able to do what I'm saying we can do. And if we need to provide paramedics, we can work out paramedic intercept agreements with our mutual aid partners.
Any further discussion that we see?
Yes.
Any motions, anything?
Yeah, I got an amendment to the single ambulance. And that amendment is that we have, prior to purchasing the ambulance, that be inspected by a licensed mechanic that's licensed in the state of Maine for inspection.
It already is, Gary.
He's making an amendment. He's just making an amendment to make sure this is done.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Discussion to the amendment to have a mechanic. Chief, could you, I think you had said something about that before, right? About it being inspected?
Yes, sir. It's already been inspected by a licensed, approved, authorized Maine state police, Maine certified, approved mechanic to inspect vehicles, no different than any other transfer of title with the purchase of any other vehicle. It has been inspected. It's got a state of Maine certification, safety sticker on it. It will meet every requirement known to Maine to be able to sell and operate on the roads. I don't know where the concern is that that I would move to or suggest that we buy something that would not be inspected after what we've gone through with the ladder truck and the engine. I think I am the one that's going to be the most cautious about buying something and putting it on the road and dependent on.
Thank you, Chief.
If I could make a comment regarding the inspection, if a vehicle is being sold from a dealer, by law, it has to be inspected, if that means anything.
Yeah.
That's an inspection regulation.
Okay, I think I move we end discussion unless somebody has something else to say. Can I have just end discussion? Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
So are we gonna vote on the amendment then?
Yes, we are. Lisa, go ahead, Jerry.
It's move the question. So the last, there was another question, right? Or somebody wanted to come in, then they can't. We just got to shut it off.
This is just on your amendment right now. This is just the amendment to have, and I think the chief has addressed it. So, and I think whether we vote yes or no, it doesn't make any difference because I think it's been addressed in the original purchases of one ambulance. But that's just, I'm just trying to proceed through this amendment here.
So the two ambulances are totally gone now with that amendment, right?
Well, yeah, we already passed that. That's been passed. So we are getting one ambulance at this point in time, not to exceed a cost of $85,000.
Can we please vote on the amendment on the floor?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
Lisa?
We're voting on the amendment that Jerry just made that was seconded by Ben.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
No.
Tricia Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
No.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Thank you. So it's 5-2.
Yep. No. Okay. So getting back to the 6-220 for the purchase of one ambulance at a cost not to exceed $85,000. Unless somebody's got, yes.
Now, the one thing we just voted on was to whether agree to Jerry's amendment. And it looked like it made it through on a yes, not no.
Just to have it inspected by a licensed inspection agent.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yep, that was it. So that's that. Now we're voting again on the original. So both of those passed. Now we're voting on 6-220 for the purchase of one ambulance, not to, and stretcher and some other apparatus not to exceed $85,000. And I'm just trying to either wrap up discussions or summarize what we feel is we need to do here. Unless somebody's got something, and again, what I would hate to see here is the process stop because of people feel that not so much that it isn't a valiant effort to try to get this done or people haven't done work, but I'm nervous about not being able is stopping this, because if we vote to defeat it at this point in time, it does not come or it fails. It does not come back for a year, and all the work that has been done will cease to make a difference for a year. So, I'd hate to see that happen. I'd hate it in the essence of taking another little bit of time and vetting more. I hate to see it defeated tonight, or I hate to see it hurried tonight. If we vote yes tonight, doesn't mean we got 30 days to vet some of the issues that we've discussed tonight. And then in 30 days at the May council meeting, we can at that point in time also have options to do. But I think, we need to think about things. Any further discussion?
Yes, Ray, this is the first reading.
It is the first reading, yes.
So the second reading right now is the council meeting in May.
Yes, unless we vote tonight to waive the second reading, which I don't suggest. That's up to the rest of the council. All I'm saying is what we're voting on right now is the one ambulance at $85,000. I'm just trying to end discussion. I'm just trying to summarize what I feel right now is the situation that we're in. Any discussion before we go to vote? Knowing that we're going to come back and revisit this in May, so. And nothing is final until the May meeting.
Until the second reading is passed, because it can be
Yes.
dead again next month.
It just means we're continuing the process. If we have questions, those questions can be answered. We have another month to answer those questions. If there's no discussion, Lisa?
All right. So Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
and Twitchell.
Couldn't hear you, Ben.
That's because I was muted. I'll say yes.
And Ray Karen.
I say no.
So it is 6-1 as a pass.
Okay, let's move on. And then again, I can't help but thank everybody. It's a tough decision for everybody. I'm sure everybody has put in a lot of time, the committee, everybody, and thank you very much. I have some questions, obviously, that I feel need to be answered, and I'm sure the chief and Mike and everybody else will help me out with that for the next meeting. Let's move on. Order number 3-220 providing for approval of the town of Winslow 2020, 2021 fiscal budget series in the amount of $25,958,881 and to establish a tax rate, due date, and interest rate on taxes remaining unpaid. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but
Ray,
yes.
what happened to 2020?
Whoop, I'm sorry. I took it out of order. Sorry, very sorry. Let's just go back. I've got things. I'm very sorry, Jerry.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to ordinance number. Sorry about that, Mike. 2-220, providing for an amendment to ordinance number 8-2016, personal rules and regulations for town employees by replacing Appendix C with the attached Appendix C. This is a, Mike, could you comment on this? It was in your manager's report.
Yes, this is an update, basically an update to the town's harassment policy, bringing it in line with state law.
And it was attached to your ordinance and stuff. Any discussion? A motion to open to discussion?
So move.
Second, please. I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? Lisa, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Jeff West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes.
Tricia Ayer?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Gary Clarion?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, now we'll do order 3-220. 3-220, approval of the town of Winslow 2020-2021 fiscal budget series in the amount of $25,958,881 to establish a tax due date and interest rate on taxes unpaid. Be it ordered by the town council of the town of Winslow that the amount of $25,958,881 shall be raised and appropriated for the period of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. That is estimated, dictated, and educational revenues, $8,519,053 shall be used in reducing the tax commitment in such appropriation applied to the following amounts. I'm not going to read it. All been in this budget forever and ever. Seems like, anyway. Mike, do you have any comments on the budget at this time?
Yes, if I could.
Motion. I'll make a motion to approve the budget as read.
Second.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. Sorry, Jay. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, yes, I'd just like to give a summary. So the budget, when compared to the current fiscal year, the proposed budget represents an increase of $869,221. That's a 3.5% increase. The municipal side of the budget is up $257,577, 3%. The education budget is up $611,644, or 3.8%. The local share, however, of the school budget is up 360%. That's what we fund with the property taxes. So it's up 360,000 at 4.5%. The biggest increase in the municipal budget is the debt service. As you may recall, we ended up doing a lease purchase for 2 fire trucks. And so our debt service increased by $243,559. That's all I have.
Yep, and Mike, could you comment on the adjustment to the mill rate and?
Yes, so the tax rate will stay the same. There will not be an increase in the tax rate for the proposed budget.
And one of the things that we're looking at right now, obviously with the pandemic, is that revenues from the state is where we've estimated a certain appropriations for, I think you could say for the revenue sharing portion of this, plus the school EPS formula too, that might be adjusted. So we might have to come back at some point in time, depending on the revenues projections, and make some adjustments to the budget. Mike, could you comment on that?
Yes, so hopefully we'll find out in July, but it could be as late as August what the projected revenues adjustment will be. And at that point, obviously we may have to come back and make adjustments to the budget.
Yep. Peter, are you still on, Peter Tibitot?
I am, Ray.
Could you go over what potentially this pandemic COVID-19, what it might affect on the school funding with it too? Just if.
Right. Well, I wanted to take a few minutes just to comment, make some other comments too. So if I could have some time at some point just to talk about that, that would be great.
Right now is good.
Okay. In terms of our 279, which is the revenues that we receive from the state, they've told us that the current 279s should not change. So that's something that we've heard fairly recently in terms of the amounts of money that we are looking at from state revenues from the 279s. And just quickly, and I'm going to ask that Amanda project a few screens for you to see. And just in brief summary, I'm not going to go over everything that we presented to the council before, but I'm going to start with the second draft that we ended with at the last town council meeting, because there might have been some confusion with that draft, and I just wanted to make sure we clarified that. I get rid of the pictures on the side. Hide them. Okay, so as you look at this is the second draft, and this draft was presented to you after we made over $808,000 worth of cuts to get to this number. So when you see the number at the top and the total request, you can see that total request in that second draft was $17,073,051.98. That was the total request, and that was after we had made $808,000 plus worth of cuts, and we'll show you that in just 1 second as a quick review. So then you'll see our revenues from the state. You'll see that the revenues were up this year. When you look at the total of the revenues, they were $7,651,930.42. So that was an increase for us of $256,475.17 that we could apply towards our total request. So if you drop down right to the bottom right-hand corner, where the tax appropriation, that's where you see that 545, 534.82, and that would have been the request at that time when we made this presentation. Mike contacted me and expressed that the council would like to see that number down to $360,000. My first reaction to that was a severe gulp, because that meant cutting another $185,000 out of a budget that we had already cut $808,000 out of. But we went back to the drawing board because we understand that we are in very difficult times. We understand that everybody is struggling, and we don't know what the future is going to bring. So we need to do everything that we possibly can do in order to work as a team. We get that because we're a big part of this community. So the second page that I want to show you these are the first list, the first cuts that we made to get to that 545 that I mentioned to you before. And I won't I'm not going to spend a lot of time to go over all these because I've already gone over them with you, but you'll see that some of the things that we cut out of here, and I do want to highlight a few. When you look at the Winslow High School roof, and we say that we're paying that with a bond, we anticipate having some bond money left over from the project, from the junior high project that we're currently building, if everything continues to go as planned. We anticipate having some savings so that we can do both the Winslow High School roof that is in dire need of being done and the Winslow Elementary School roof that needs to be done as well. You'll see a bunch of other things that are listed there. Most of them are supplies or textbooks. You'll see a reduction in staff a little bit down. And that's an individual that is, the reduction is because somebody left last year and that person is returning, and the person that's in that particular position will be a reduction because the person is returning. If you work your way down through, you'll see things such as chairs for math department. Those chairs have been in there year after year after year. So it's just there are things that we've asked for over time, and we aren't able to get them because we get to this point where we need to do these reductions. You'll see the Winslow High School accreditation, an amount there for $10,000, and you'll see that that's going to be paid for main care. So even though we cut it out of the local budget so that you wouldn't have to worry about it, we will have that because the accreditation is extremely important, and we'll take care of that out of main care money. And you'll see that in a few places where we've used main care money to take care of things out of this budget. Towards the bottom of that list, you'll see reduction in staff, and you'll see 3 of them. And this is based on priorities and our foundational beliefs. We had a lot of conversations about this in terms of what are our priorities. And we had some capacity in one of the buildings where we thought perhaps we could do without with a reduction in staff in that building in order to be able to give us the necessary teaching capacity in another building. In other words, we had an elementary school that has very large class sizes in first grade and in second grade, class sizes of 20 and 21. We don't feel that's acceptable. We want to reduce those class sizes. Therefore, when you look at the bottom, you'll see the request for 2 new teaching positions. And you'll also see a request for some ed techs, 3 ed techs, to help with students who have some pretty severe needs that in which they need assistance for. So when you look at that, you'll see that the original list, we had $808,490 worth of cuts, and we were asking for $246,413.78 worth of new positions. So if you go to the next page, this now is the most recent adjustments. And the last adjustments were approved by the board. I should add, these are the most recent adjustments that were presented to the board last week. Time escapes me with this. And so if you go back to the 545, 534 on the second revenue sheet, and you look at the target of getting to $360,000, that really means that we needed to find another 185, 534 in order to make that happen. So some of these things, the first thing you see at the last meeting I had mentioned, and this is where I thought some of the confusion may have come in. When we were at 545, 534, that was our insurance was at 6% at that time. And we were hoping that we would at least save a couple more percent, which is exactly what happened. The insurance came in at 3.94%. That gave us a savings of about $50,000 in additional savings. So at the last meeting, when I was talking about, the 545, 534, and if the insurance came in, I thought we could save another 50. That would get us down to about 497. That's what I was talking about. So the insurance did come in 2% less. We did some more cuts, as you can see, in staff development, tuition reimbursement for the administrator. The only thing I'm going to just spend a little bit of time, you'll see a bunch of coaching positions here. These are coaching positions that were not filled last year. And what I mean by that is we may not have had enough students to warrant an assistant for a particular team or for the actual head coach for a particular team. And so these are contracted positions, they're there, they're in the budget. But what we're doing is, because we really have no place to go at this point, we're looking at taking the monies for those positions as part of our cuts. Now, if for some reason next year you have enough Winslow Junior High School grade 7 students to play basketball, this is a contracted position, I'd have to find the money to pay for that coach and make that happen, because it is a contracted position. But it didn't happen this year, and neither did all of those other pieces that you see there. So we're making an assumption that those won't happen next year as well, due to a lack of participation on the part of students. You'll see a pretty big chunk of change down, about halfway down the page, $25,000, Winslow Elementary School teacher class size reduction. We were able to receive about $25,000 more in Title II for this year. So we're going to take that $25,000 worth of title money and apply it towards the regular budget in order to reduce that amount from the local taxes. You'll see a few technology pieces in there, and it says CARES money next to it. Every state is going to receive some amount in CARES money. The schools are supposed to receive something. We don't know what we're going to receive, but we do know that we can use it for things such as technology that would assist us if another pandemic or something like this should happen again, so that we would be better prepared to do remote learning. So we have a few things in there to buy out of this budget and to pay for using those funds. You'll see that Kennebec Behavioral Health has been cut $5,000 from both the Winslow High School and Winslow Junior High. That does not mean we will cut services for Kennebec Behavioral Health to our students. We will use title dollars again to make that happen. And this is a reallocation of title dollars. Title dollars is federal money that we receive, and it can be used for different things, things that support your local budget or support your students in order for them to receive the assistance that they need. And this will require us to rewrite our plans in order to make that happen. You'll see textbooks cut out of the local budget, and you'll see next to it, it says buyout. Well, I'll address that in just a minute. So every place where you see buyout is where we anticipate having some monies left over this year, because right now we are not spending monies on everything that we would normally be spending it on. For instance, substitute teachers are not being called in at this particular point in time. And I'll address that a little more in just a moment. So just hang on to that buyout, because you'll see a lot of those that are there. When you flip over to the next page, just a quick summary. The first round of cuts and adjustments was $808,490.50. The second round that I just reviewed with you was $189,734. So we've made total cuts since the first request of $998,234.12. We added back the positions like I mentioned, 2 teachers to reduce class size in first and second grade, and ed techs in support of some of our students with some special needs. So the net effect of our cuts is $751,802. $820.34, I'm sorry. So what that does for us, it takes us to the next, which is our third draft of the revenue sheet. Now, if you go to the top, you'll see that the total request for this year is 16,885,7536. That's a 3.72% increase over last year, or 604,702.44. The revenues are the same. You go down to the bottom of the page and you'll see where we are. We would be looking at asking for 353,058.20, which is slightly less than the 360 target the council asked us to try to reach. The last, or next to last page that I want to show you. These are the major cost drivers of our budget. So when you say that a difference in our budget this year is 604,702.44, what drives that cost? Salaries and group insurance are a big driver of that cost. As I mentioned, we added 2 teachers, 3 ed techs, and even though our insurance came in at 3.9 or whatever that percentage was, last year it was 0. So there was an increase. Contracted services are up a little bit, but the big one is this. When you look at our debt service, you look at the increase from 1920 to 20 and 21, we are now in the full cycle of the new building. So we're paying $696,000 plus for the principal and interest on the addition to the high school in order to make it a 2-building campus. So if you look at what's driving the cost, and if you're looking at the difference in our budget, pretty remarkable when you see that picture. The absolute last page that I want to show you, because this has been mentioned a few times, is the cost avoidance. I'm often asked, when we talked about all of this, moving to a 2-building campus back in 2018, there was a number of $435,000 thrown around in terms of this would be a cost avoidance to go into a 2-building campus. Well, if you look at what we've done in the last 2 years, these are the positions that have been lost or absorbed as a result of moving to a 2-building campus. So in this particular fiscal year, we are doing without the extra media center person, a teacher in 8th grade science, a custodian, a tech support person that was working both in Winslow and in Vassarboro, and a registrar. So we've absorbed those positions in this year. We haven't had those people. Moving into FY21, there are other cuts, a teacher, again, a media center specialist, a teacher / assistant principal, and we've had some savings on fuel oil from going to fuel oil to the propane. So we far surpassed our cost avoidance projections. In the last, we are at 605,356.92, and that's a cost avoidance that will be there for years to come. I think the biggest point that I want to make in closing is that last year, those of you who were on town council knew that our budget was extremely tight. We made a lot of cuts last year as well. Many of the things that are on the list this year were on that list last year. Our budget was tight. In fact, it was so tight that just before schools were forced to go into this remote learning because of COVID-19, we put a freeze on our budget because we felt as though we were really close to running in the red at the end of the year. Now that happens because when you have a budget that's so tight and you have no wiggle room in that budget, and we understand why we need to run it tight, but when things happen, like last year, right off the bat, our local entitlement fund was $30,000 short because the feds made some adjustments. Well, that's $30,000 you've got to find. Repairs to buses because the fleet's getting old. Those are things when you go over budget, you've got to find. A student who might need an extra ed tech because of some needs or outside placement. Sometimes those outside placements go $100,000. We don't have those emergency funds in this budget. So when we look at the number that we're asking for, we'll be in the same situation again next year where we're running this thing so tight that there are no extras. And I guess I would just ask to keep that in the back of your minds as we move forward, because there really is nothing here that we can go after. Thank you for listening.
Well, Peter, thank you very much for that that educational piece. That's for sure. And I want to say that since we've dissolved the AOS 92 and we have our own superintendent and financial people, that the effort and the information that you've given the council through this period of time shows the value of that decision. And when tough times get tough, to have that a person as yourself in that position that cares, and your staff cares a lot. I can't tell you from a council perspective how we appreciate the level that you've given us for this year, and the diligence and the explanations that you've given us along the way.
Thank you, Ray. A lot of people have worked hard to get there.
Mike, as far as the municipal side of the budget, do you foresee that when I looked at the financial statements for most of the departments, that we're pretty much on schedule for what we're doing? Do you see any increases or decreases because of this COVID that we're dealing with now, or are we pretty much right on budget on the municipal side for the rest of the year?
Yeah, we're pretty much right on budget for right now, Ray. We haven't seen any increases in expenditures due to the COVID-19. So right now we're holding our own, and I think we're doing well.
And it looks like just revenue sharing protection, that's the only thing that possibly could be something that we do. Of course, everybody knows on the budget from our surplus, our contingency now is that we're pretty in good position as far as contingency goes. We are dipping into contingencies again this year to balance the budget, because we felt at this point in time, the council felt that we needed to not increase the tax burden on the taxpayers of the town of Winslow. But contingency is safe, right?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I'll add too that, as you know, we've had an offer on our industrial building, the portion that Orion is in, of 2.5 million. It's my understanding that the proposed buyer has worked out an agreement with Orion as far as an extended lease. However, they wanted to pause that for at least 30 days, hoping that this COVID-19 would come and go. And so right now we're looking at a July closing date for the sale of that building.
So we could probably use some of the sale of that building to replenish our contingency.
Yes.
So
I have a question.
Anybody, yep, go ahead, Steve. Open up the discussion to the council again.
Yep, through the chair, for the town manager. Have you heard any on the funds coming from the federal government to state and local governments? And are you in pursuit of that at this point? Is there things you have to do to apply for grants, or just give us an update if you could, please?
Yeah, so that may be a question for the fire chief. Most of those funds, I believe, are going to the first responders at this point. So Ronnie, if you want to, are you able to?
Yes, sir. Through the chair, we are tracking all expenditures, including overtime, that we are expending as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we will be submitting the forms for reimbursement at the conclusion, or when they are requested.
Thank you. I was under the impression that there was going to be some aid to states and local governments too in that care package. And I didn't know if you knew of any of that, or.
No, it's my impression that that hasn't been passed yet as far as aid for states and municipalities.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on order number 3-220? If No discussion. Lisa, could you have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on. Order number 4-220, providing for authorization of the town manager to proceed with the proposed upgrades to the Chaffee Brook Station totaling $5 million.
So move.
Second.
Open for discussion. Mike, I think this is in your town report too. Would you give us a summary of what exactly that money would, about where that money would come from?
Yeah, so currently I'm working with the USDA on either grant funding or a loan package or a combination of both. And what they're supposed to do now is get back to me and tell me how much we're going to be eligible for. The hopes is that we'll do a combination. So whatever we need to make up for grant monies, we can borrow to make up the 5 million. We're beginning the process now of moving forward with the project, which is why Paul and I thought it was prudent to bring this to the council now, because we're getting to the point where we're going to start spending money on the project. It just felt it was prudent to get authority from the council to do that.
And just to update the people that might not know about the Chaffee Brook station, is that's where the sewer is collected on this side of the river, and it's pumped over to the sanitary treatment plant on the Waterville side of the river. Currently, we have one line that's a small line that during the rain cannot handle the flow. So during a rainstorm, not a lot, but some of the sewer can't be pumped over is going into the river. This will establish a new pump station, but also a bigger line bored underneath the river so that it can handle all the flow and all the runoff that increases during a rainstorm and stuff, and give us the capacity. Right now, if we had a failure in that smaller line, then we would have no choice but to overflow the entire sewage of the town of Winslow into the Kennebec River. Mike, is that accurate? Or Paul, is that accurate statement?
Yes, it is. And basically, we started doing some engineering last week. They were in doing test borings to determine if we can bore across the river. If we can bore across the river without touching the water, the permitting process is definitely a lot simpler than having to touch the water. That was done last week. I haven't heard back with the results. Part of the reason I'm trying to go forward with these projects as well is from our engineers told us the last time we had one of these recessions, we had money become available for what they call shovel-ready projects. And sometimes there's a lot of grant money available. So hopefully we get these projects designed and ready to go. So maybe we'll be able to qualify for extra grant money.
And Mike, where's this money coming from?
It'll be, of course, it'll be coming from the sewer department, but it'll be a combination of grants and a loan.
Yeah, I was talking about how we're going to pay it. I just want to make sure everybody is aware that it's not a tax issue. It's on the sanitary district.
That's correct, Jeff. I mean, that will come out of the user fees over the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that it wasn't going to be related to the tax burden.
How old is the current pump station that's there now, Paul, if you could?
The current pump station was built somewhere around 73 or 75. So it's pushing 45 years old. So it is due for an update. You know, stuff's getting tired. The pumps are a little undersized. If we upsize the pumps to be able to pump more, then the electrical is insufficient. So it's kind of a domino effect. The building itself is in good shape. We don't need to touch the building. We just need to reapportion and redesign the building, update the electrical. Some of the codes have changed of where some of the electrical is situated now is not up to code. So a lot of that would be upgraded. So, you know, we've had good time. We've gotten 45 years out of it. So Most of the stuff is designed for 30 years, so we've done good. So I think if we can, get another 30, 40 years out of it, we'd be doing really good.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Lisa, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
First reading passes 7-0.
Order number 5-220, providing for an amendment to order number 19-219 by increasing the engineering cost by $70,998 to $175,000. Motion. Mike, could you, can I have a second on that?
Sorry.
Mike, could you explain?
Sure, yes. So when we began looking at Benton Avenue, of course, we've got to do a sewer project there. And originally, we thought we could lump that project in with the Chaffee Brook project and use grant funding and the loan to cover both of those projects. However, the USDA has suggested that we might be better off actually separating those projects out, because the Benton Avenue project probably wouldn't qualify for very much grant funding or loan funding. So we did that, and in doing that, it basically created two projects. And so the engineers would have to do twice the work, basically. The project is going to run over 2 years between the sewer project and the paving. So there were additional inspections that would be required to take place. So at any rate, the cost increased by the $70,998.
The sewer, the money will come from the sewer account again. Is that correct? Or
Yes, for the work that's done on the sewer line, that will come from the sewer department.
can you explain a little bit about the Benton Avenue project, just really quickly, about where we're going from and to?
Sure. If I could have Paul address that.
Sure. This project is going from the railroad crossing down the bottom of Clinton Avenue all the way to the Roderick Road. It's roughly 5,000 feet. We would be changing all the sewer mains in that section, all new services to the houses, some upgrades to storm drains. A lot of the storm drains are in good shape. And at the same time, the Kennebec Water District is going to be replacing all of their water mains and all their services that hopefully will be done this year, or start this year and finish next year. And then the paving part of it will be done in 21. We've been told by MDOT that we've gotten an MPI for that section. And I believe that's going to be $500,000 for next year. So that's basically what that project is entailing.
Any further discussion? Lisa, could you do a roll call vote, please, on order number 5-220?
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Order number 5-220 passes 7-0.
Order number 7-220, providing for authorization for a sewer line replacement project on Lower Benton Avenue at a cost of $1.5 million. Have a motion to open discussion.
So moved.
Motion, we take 7 and 8 together, seeing they're all the same. Part of the same project.
Yep.
Second.
Yep. Lisa, could you just do a roll call to lump 7 and 8 together really quick?
You're
You're
muted,
muted,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Hi, sorry. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Dave, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes, yes. Order number 72-20 and order number 8220 is now lumped together. Sewer line replacement project and storm drainage replacement project on Lower Benton Avenue. Any discussion? No discussion. Lisa, could you have a roll call vote, please? On
Yes, I can.
order 7? Yep.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
7.
Resolution, yep. Oops, sorry.
You're set. Thank you.
Resolution number 12-220, providing for application for restaurant lounge class 9 liquor license, 11, sorry, liquor license by the 2 Cent Pub, 82 Clinton Avenue, Winslow, Maine.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, Lisa?
Yes, Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Thank you. 7-0.
Resolution number 13-220, providing for authorization for the fire chief to renew the existing mutual aid agreement with the Waterville Fire Department.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Is this just for fire, or is this for ambulance, or is this a combo?
We don't have the ambulance yet.
My question was to the chief.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question being directed at me.
Is there a way to add the ambulance to this mutual aid agreement at a later date, or do we have to make a new agreement?
The agreement currently is, covers any mutual aid, regardless of whether it's EMS service or suppression service. And this is a mutual aid agreement that has been issued through all the mutual aid communities throughout central Maine. So it's not an exclusive agreement just between Waterville and Winslow. This is a mutual aid agreement that's been executed through Fairfield, Benton, Clinton, Albion, all the different surrounding towns, Oakland, all the different fire department jurisdictions.
Thank you.
If I might, section 5 of that mutual aid agreement, if the party providing mutual aid response for any EMS related incident provides emergency transport by ambulance of a patient to a hospital or other healthcare facilities, the party is entitled to bill the patient for that service. So that's section 5. So that, I believe, Chief, if I'm wrong, if you could comment on that, that covers ambulance, any type of ambulance transportation. Is that correct? In the future, if that be so?
That's correct. If and when that is necessary, that a mutual aid partner comes into our town, or if and when we have an ambulance service and we are requested to go to another jurisdiction, we get reimbursement and the money comes to the jurisdiction that's providing transport. That's pretty standard. It's generic language. There's no hidden agenda there.
Yep. No, I didn't imply that there was. It was just Trish asked that question about transport, and this would add to that part of the that would be what Waterville could do in the future, and it's in the mutual aid agreement. It doesn't have to be added in the future.
Yes, sir. That's correct. It is part of the mutual aid agreement that is before the council right now.
Chief, one question on that. Where we can bill, technically bill for extrication, would that fall under the same thing?
That's correct.
So it's not just EMS services, it's other
Correct.
points.
The council approved sometime last year our cost recovery service billing for suppression services, and this agreement just it brings it all together. It ties it all together so that we can get reimbursement for any services we provide with this agreement to Waterville, to the city of Waterville. It doesn't bill the city of Waterville. It gives us the ability, if we were to receive an ambulance transport service, and we were requested to go to Waterville to assist in anything over there, we would have the authority and the right to provide to bill the patient, not the town or the city. I'm sorry, not the city.
Correct. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, Lisa, could you do roll call, please?
I will. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Steve?
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Good. Keep me on my toes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Resolution number 14-220, providing for approval of MMA Workers' Compensation Safety Initiative Program. Mike, could you comment on why this is in there?
Second.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the town, we're currently enrolled in the LEADER program, and we have a safety committee, and we work to improve safety for our staff, employees. And as a result of that, we get some money back on our workers' comp. So MMA is changing that program, and they've created this new program. And so in order for us to participate in that, invited, we have to pass this resolution. And the program, like the old program, gives some financial incentives. So as we improve workplace safety, we get money back from our workers' comp.
Any further discussion? If not, Lisa, could you please do a roll call?
Yes. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Okay. Resolution number 15-220, providing for authorization for the town manager to transfer $355,917 from the sale of town property revenue account to various expense accounts.
So moved.
So moved.
Mike, could you explain that one?
Yes, so we're using some funds or the revenues generated from the sale of a portion of our industrial building to apply it to certain capital accounts. And in doing so, that was one of the ways we were able to lower the proposed budget. So we lowered the proposed budget by the $355,917 by transferring this money into the capital account. So for example, we had originally planned to budget $500,000 for street and roads. So we reduced that by $200,000. So we're budgeting in the proposed budget $300,000 for street and roads. But with this resolution, we're going to transfer $200,000 from our revenue into the street and roads capital account, which will give us the $500,000 we need to do street and road projects.
Yep. Any further discussion?
Yes, I got a question. Was there a second on this?
Yes. It was Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Lisa, could you give a roll call, please?
Yes. Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Trisha Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Resolution 16-220, providing for acceptance of forfeiture assets obtained by the Kennebec County District Attorney's Office. Open for, can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Lisa, could we have a resolution, please?
Jeff West,
Yes.
Steve Russell,
Yes.
Tricia Ayer,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Gary Querian,
Yeah.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
7-0, it passes.
Okay, moving on. I know that public comment,
A little hard.
Can I say something?
public comment, obviously, Mike. Oh, for sure.
So I've been streaming live. We currently have 16 people watching, but we were up to 40 people, which I feel like is really great. We have 165 comments so far in this video, where 130 of them all took place about the ambulance. So I really hope that we have a way of copying all of that and sending it to all the counselors, including the comments that were hidden. And I didn't hide any comments, but there were some comments from Fran Hudson that were on there that were hidden. So I'm not sure about that because I can see that they're hidden, but I didn't click on them. But a lot of people are asking for who's up for re-election this year. So if you could provide me with that information, I would like to post that on Facebook. There's a lot of people that were kind of brutal, and a lot of people thought we were stalling. So I just hope that all those comments get put to all the counselors to read. It would be way more than the 8 pages of questions that we got about the ambulance. So that's all I have to say.
Great.
Who is running this year?
I believe we have Jerry, Steve, and I want to say Trish.
Yep, I am.
Yep.
Great. Mike, again, on public comment, could you just explain the way people can comment on the on tonight?
Yes, and hopefully Chad will stream the email address. So anything that was discussed tonight, if the public wants to comment on that, they can send an email to Town of Winslow, all one word, at winslow-me.gov, and I will make sure that the town council see your comments.
And who replies to the comments that are on the video that's streaming on YouTube? I guess someone asked me, I think it was like Kevin had mentioned that he's been leaving comments, or someone's been leaving comments on the YouTube or something. And I don't know who's responding to that because I haven't seen any.
Okay, and I haven't seen those either.
Okay, maybe tonight they're going to or something. I don't know. It just got mentioned, so I wasn't sure.
And any other further discussion items that people would like to comment on before we adjourn the meeting?
Well, on the discussion item, this is through Ray to Mike. How are we coming along on the LED streetlights?
Well, the company contacted me today and said that they're going to be starting very soon. We may see them within the week.
And
I move to adjourn the meeting.
yeah, that's fine. I just want to say to everybody that's been involved with all the processes and all the decisions that, everybody on the council, I feel, has an opinions. They have their opinions. They have their reason for their opinions, and we differ. We differ as a bunch. Some decisions are extremely very hard to make, and some people, have different viewpoints on those decisions. But in the end, I think the council works very well together. We're very respectful of each other's decisions, although we don't always agree on every subject that we have over the last 10 years that I've been on the council. We always pick up the pieces and we try to see each other's viewpoints. And I'd like to thank the council for getting through some of these tough decisions in the budget process. And hopefully in the future that will continue to work as a group. I will now take a motion. Mike, unless you have anything else or anybody has anything else I'd like to say, I would.
No, I
You have a
nothing to add.
motion.
You have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Lisa, your last official act for tonight. Can you just do a roll call on adjournment, please, just so we can have.
Who's the second on the motion?
I will.
I am.
Okay.
Ben, okay.
Ben is.
All right, so final roll call is Jeff West.
Sure.
Sure, Steve Russell,
Yeah.
Trisha Ayer,
Yep.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Hello.